आज का युग युद्ध का है नहीं। और हमने फोन पर भी कई बार आपसे इस विषय में बात की है कि डेमोक्रेसी और डिप्लोमेसी और डायलॉग, ये सारी बातें ऐसी हैं कि जो दुनिया को एक स्पर्श करती हैं। फूड सिक्योरिटी की, फ्यूल सिक्योरिटी की, फर्टिलाइजर की, ऐसी जो समस्याएं हैं, हमें जरूर कुछ रास्ते निकालने होंगे।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's remarks reflect how the challenges faced by India since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war on February 24th straddle both the economic and foreign policy domains. The war, which has now entered its second year, came just as India was coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. It led to an increase in crude oil prices, drove up food prices globally, and led to supply bottlenecks. The result? Significant inflationary pressure. In India, this made the centre and the Reserve Bank of India's task of striking a balance between growth and inflation all the more challenging. The RBI also had to keep up with the rise in global interest rates that followed. India's import bill for both fertilizers and energy also jumped as a result of the conflict, and the centre's budgetary math came under pressure as its subsidy outlay ballooned. For FY23, the centre had budgeted fertilizer subsidy at 1.05 trillion rupees, but the revised estimate showed it bulged to 2.25 trillion rupees as the centre pumped in extra funds to shield farmers from the conflict-led spike in fertilizer prices. In FY24, however, both the food and fertilizer subsidy bills are slated to drop sharply. So how do experts sum up the economic impact? And how do they see things developing in the future?
The entire energy market and the food grain market, particularly the market for wheat globally, has become badly disrupted, which essentially meant that a large number of countries who were sourcing energy and or wheat from Ukraine and Russia had to look for alternative sources, which in the case of energy meant essentially a complete rejigging of supply routes, with our traditional suppliers shifting to providing to Western Europe and we having to move to Russian. As far as the wheat market is concerned, what it did was it sent the global wheat prices through the ceiling, which had its knock-on repercussions on our grain prices. So if you look at the recent inflation story, it has essentially been driven by food grains. So the impact is indirect, but nevertheless quite significant.
It looks like that nobody knows when this war will end. This also means that the global economy will have to get used to this kind of a situation. And I think most countries have already made their adjustments in terms of consumption of different commodities, especially of oil, of gas, that is, I'm talking of the Western economies. So as far as India is concerned, with global commodity prices having cooled off, crude oil coming back to the levels of around $80 to $90 per barrel, we do not really fear that there will be any further escalation in prices of crude oil, which could be affecting also products like fertilizers. And that's probably one of the reasons why the budget has assumed that the fertilizer subsidy bill can actually be lowered in the year, because there will be certain gains to be made with low crude oil prices prevailing for most part of this financial year. So there won't be any surprises as such to us on account of the war, which means that the fiscal math can progress in a normal manner.
India's energy mix also saw change. Indian refiners rarely bought Russian oil before the war due to costly logistics. But they are now snapping up discounted Russian crude amid a slew of Western sanctions on it. And Russia has displaced India's traditional oil suppliers and now accounts for a little over a fourth of its total oil imports, ahead of Iraq and Saudi Arabia. India's purchase of Russian oil has been guided by energy security needs. But this decision has come in for criticism in the West. Balancing India's long-standing ties to Russia, a supplier of strategic defense equipment, with its deepening relations with the West, a key source of investment and new age technology, has been one of Indian foreign policy's key challenges since February.
The Indian foreign policy establishment, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, and others who led this challenge have, in my opinion, navigated this particularly well and to the benefit of the people of India. whether it has meant in terms of what we have articulated at the G20, helping to bring together a declaration on the subject and resolving matters in a manner which gave peace a chance, which said war is not the way of doing things today. Whether we've been able to negotiate our purchases of petroleum products, absolutely essential for our people and a better life for our people, how we've been able to tell the world that, look, instead of simply finger pointing, let us try and give diplomacy a chance. Certainly, Western European and other countries of that ilk, they turned around and said, either you're with us or not with us. But look, we have been able to tell people we are a large economy, a large society, and we have to stand up for our interests. Our interests are not against yours, but our interests are about ourselves. And sometimes there are collateral issues which fall out as a result of, what actions you have taken, mostly unilaterally. They have understood.
India has by and large adjusted to the war's fallout and emerged as a bright spot in a global economy beset by headwinds. But escalation cannot be ruled out entirely, meaning safety from further disruptions and uncertainty isn't guaranteed. A new Russian offensive has reportedly begun, and Russian President Vladimir Putin has suspended Moscow's participation in the last remaining nuclear arms control pact with the US. The war has entered its second year. The world may not be able to afford a third.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.